Alright guys, this is Ruckus bringing to you another quick video. This is actually a second part to the A10 video I did with this radio. The display didn't come out very well, so I wanted to redo this, and I tested it. It does work. I just have to shut the damn backlight off, so if anybody wants to do a YouTube or GoPro video with this radio, even on the lowest setting on the backlight, it will glare the crap out of your camera, so just thought I'd share that with you guys. But amazingly, it shows up on here. So, anyway, this is the devo 10 Walkira deviation radio. I downloaded the third-party software from Deviation. It's free. Just USB firmware that you load up on there. You'll need a couple. I think you need like one of the tools, and the website's really pretty easy to follow. So. Definitely, I highly recommend this software. It's amazing. And here we go. Alright, so here's the Deviation Devo 10. Everybody is familiar with, if you have this software, you're familiar with this first display here. It shows your graphic of your aircraft. You can change that on the firmware itself. Not on this, but it just shows your helicopter or whatever plane you're, helicopter or aircraft, whatever one you're doing. Got your voltage, got your output voltage. I have it set at 100 milliwatts right now. You got your name up there in the upper left hand corner. I might bring this light a little bit over more, and we'll see if this works. Okay. So now, basically, when you saw in my other video, I talked about the different features and different mixes here. So we're first going to talk about the dual rate switch on the ailerons, okay? Now, when you go into this, you have, well, when you get this radio, you have these four basic buttons. If you ever owned like a Wakira 2801 Pro or similar radios like that, you know that they have the right and the left buttons, and the up and the down, and the exit and the enter. So these buttons, there's actually 6 buttons here, are basically the only way of navigating through these menus. Okay, so if you're familiar with those, you won't have a problem. It's no big deal. Even if you're familiar with the scroll wheel on your DX series, your Spectrum series, you'll be able to navigate pretty well. So first you hit enter to get into your main menus, and you have 4 of them. The first 2 are probably the only ones you're really going to use. The third one you're going to use for your USB firmware updating. You put it in USB mode or whatnot. The about deviation is just a little splash screen they show you, the website and stuff to go there. Okay. So we're going to go into the model menu. So you hit enter again, and you go into model. You can go into model setup if you want, but we're mainly going to be dealing with the mixes here. But we'll go into model setup anyways. Basically, this is how you load your different models. I think you can have up to 30 on this radio. So if you have whatever model you want to load, you would hit enter, and then you'd scroll down to whatever model you want, and then you'd hit that enter key again. Okay, and then the model name, you can always change the model name here, and it brings up a nice little keypad there that you navigate through, delete, and all that stuff, and hit done when you're done. And then the icon, you can change that on the computer software there if you want different icons. I got the defaults on there. Model type is plane or helicopter. Power outage, which actually I'm going to turn that down since I'm here. I'm going to turn it all the way down to like 100, I think it means microwatts, the small little U. And PPM, that's for like if you're going to set up a buddy box or emulator, or I think you can even do like a FPV setup with that. Devo is the actual receiver protocol. Reinitialize, that's your bind key. Fixed ID, you can set that. Channels, you can set us up to 10 channels. Mixer GUI, I got it at advanced, and then we're back to this. So now we're going to go to the mixers. This is the basically the meat and potatoes of everything we talked about on the A10. Okay, so we'll talk about the elevator first since it's the first channel. Now, you see an exclamation point on it. We'll hit enter, Okay, and it's because it's reversed. I had to reverse my elevator. You may not have to, but you know, no big deal. It's just like any other setup. You just go reverse. I think other radios actually have a reversed, normal reversed menu. This you just go to the actual channel and do it right from there. And then you have a fail-safe, what position you want, safety, none, safe value, minimum limit, maximum limit, that's your travel distance. And then your scaling, you know, plus, minus 100, plus 100. Sub trim, speed, that's pretty much it for that. So now we're going to go to the elevator mixer menu. Oh, hit right, whoops. I went back too far here. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. I'm going the wrong way here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now you go into this, and basically I set up a dual rate setup with this because I wanted to have the elevator over here in the dual rates. You know, there's just two positions for this. You can set up to there's two 3-position switches on this radio, and there's 3 2-position switches for your dual rates, and then there's additional 2-position switch. So you basically have 2 3-position switches, and then you actually have 4 2-position switches. And then you have your top potentiometers up here, okay? That's AUX 4 and AUX 5, which is channel 9 and channel 10 by default, okay? So now we're in our elevator channel here. And remember, your channel always display on the upper left-hand corner, okay? What you're actually doing to it is going to be here, whether it's simple, expo, and dual rate, or complex, okay? We're in expo and dual rate, so it basically sets up kind of a high rate, mid rate, and low rate. You'll see as we scroll down. Where do we want the source? The source is actually where it's coming from, what you're telling that channel to do from where. So you got your channel that you're manipulating, and then you have actually, okay, we want our source to be elevator. That makes sense, right? So then we scroll down to the high rate, and we have it set to 1 to 1, and we have it set to 100. We don't have a, do we have a switch? Hold on, let me go back here. No, we don't have a switch set, do we? No, we don't. We don't care. We don't. It's high rates, or excuse me, high rates is high rates, so we don't really worry about that. But we do want a switch set for our low rate. Now this says mid rate. You can choose it to be low rate or whatever you want. It's always going to say mid rate because that's an option you can have. So if you really want to put it on the low rate setting so you don't get confused, you can. But I chose to do it just here. So I made my switch the elevator switch number 1, so it goes from 0 to 1, and then you scroll down to where the scaling is at 50%. So basically it's saying if my elevator DR1 switch is in the 1 position, I have the scale of 50%. I'm only gonna have 50% travel of aileron, which is fine. That's what dual rates do. You know, you can set anything you want as far as scale goes. So that's elevator. That's all I did with elevator. So there's no special mixes or anything. It's just a dual rate. So now the aileron gets a little more complicated. It actually tells you right here what's going on with your elevator. Okay, and then we're gonna go to aileron. Now aileron I have reversed as well, and we don't have to explain that. Well, actually I will, because I didn't show you how to reverse it. Well, excuse me, I did show you how to reverse it. All you gotta do is hit right or left on this part, but there's another thing you can reverse too. I'll explain that later. So it's reversed aileron. We're gonna go to complex because remember we said this could be simple, this can be expo in dual rate, or complex. Okay, complex is, you know, obviously complex, so we got more mixes than normal on here. We got 5 mixers on this aileron servo now. It's the aileron channel, yes, but we have an actual aileron servo which is plugged into the deviation devo 10 receiver. So we only have 1 servo on the wing going to channel number 2 on the receiver, which is designated for the aileron, okay? Now, yes, you can have a Y cord and all that good nonsense if you want. But with the A10, remember I said I wanted the spoilerons, so you have to separate your servos into different channels, okay? So our designated channel for aileron is the right wing. So we're going to go down to here, and it says page 1. So we're going to scroll down and see what the heck page 1 is. Now this, I believe this is default mode, F mode 0, which is the switch over here. I don't really want to mess with that. I'm not sure why that's set that. I may have done that before. I just know it works. I don't know why that is, but this is going to be a replacement. So in F mode 0, it's a replacement, and this is going to be a source aileron. And we scroll down to the curve 1 to 1, and then scale 100. Okay. So basically, that's our first mix. Our first mix basically isn't really a mix. It's just a normal setting. We have regular high rates, okay, and we have our aileron stick over here. No big deal. So now we're going to go to our different page, and you have to remember, the mixes is how many mixes you want. This is the first thing is quantity. I did this so many times that I almost kicked myself because I always wanted to change the mixers like back and forth. I thought I was actually selecting the menus back and forth. Do not, I repeat, do not touch this. Every time you come back to this menu, whether you save it or not, you come back, it will always go to page 1 for default. So if you're working on page 4 and you save it and you want to see something, you want to come back, you have to scroll down here the page through the pages, okay? So we started on page 1, we're going to go to page 2, and you'll see a change here, okay? Now page 2 should be my aileron DR1, which is my dual rates. So I'm basically going from high rates to low rates. Okay, so when this switch is aileron DR1 is in the 1 position, which is that's that switch, it's going to give us, it's replacing, which is like a train track switching. Either you want this or you want that. You know, it's very simple. It's not adding, it's replacing. Our source is the ailerons, right? And then our curve is 1 to 1 still, but our scale is only 50. So we're only getting 50%. So you go full deflection right, full deflection left, we're only getting 50% action on our ailerons, okay? On that wing we're just talking about. Okay? So then you go down here, offsets 0, trim is nothing. So then we're going to do, remember what I said, don't touch the mixers, because you will erase them if you're not careful. If you don't save it, it shouldn't erase it. But don't risk it. It's a pain in the ass, trust me. Always go to your page first. Personally, I think they should have switched these around or made the mixers harder to get to or somehow, because I still can't tell you how many times I've changed the mixer. Went and saved it, and then I was like, where did that mixer go? Where did that page go? The pages are the mixers. So basically, or they should have renamed it. Like, mixer quantity and mixer page, or mixer number or something, like what one you're going to. But the pages are the mixes. So I'm on basically mix number 2, page 2. So I want to go to 3 now, okay? Now 3, you see this scale jumped up here. Oh, we got a little spin on there. Sorry. So it jumped up there. So now I'm going to go down to flight mode switch 1. So that's this mode switch, the 3 position switch on the side here. We're going to go to the mid position. That mid position is going to send our elevon, I keep saying elevon, darn it, our spoileron up into the mid position here, or into the higher position, okay? And we scroll down, this is a replacement mux, and our source is the aileron again, that's where everything's coming from. And then I made a curve. Normally this is a 1 to 1 curve. I made this a 3-point curve, and I'll show you that real quick. A 3-point curve, and you can have up to like, I think it's like 11 or 12-point curve, or no, it's going to be like an odd number, so like 11 or 13-point curve or whatever. It's crazy. I want to keep it simple and do 3 points. Basically, 3 points is your first point is the far left of the graph, second point is the very middle of the graph, third point is the very to the right of the graph. Pretty simple. So my first point I set at negative 30. Okay, that's basically how far that aileron goes in the down position. So instead of going negative 100, it goes only negative 30. So that means it's actually starting up at, in our second position, it's actually starting up at positive 40. And then it's cruising down through 0 and then only going to negative 30 on the way down. And then we're only going to go up to positive 100. Okay? That's our position 3. Which, by the way, position 3 is always going to be 100 because we always want that 100 deflection on all, when you're flying around. But it starts at that positive 40. Okay, sits there at positive 40 when I'm just sitting there. I hit this switch in the mid position, boom, it goes to positive 40. And the other wing will do that too, and I'll show that real quick. So I'm going to scroll down here. 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 So I'm going to scro I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go to page number 4, which page 4 is gonna be the flight mode, the second flight mode. Okay. See, that's where our switch is. That, and then this is a replacement mux, and then our source is aileron, and then we have a 3-point curve again, which will go in. And see, now we're at a positive 20 on one, a positive 60 on two, and a positive 100 again. Okay, so that's basically, whoops, that's basically setting up our aileron going even higher up. So our spoiler line is actually bouncing way up. Okay, and that's pretty much it for that. And then the fifth one, the fifth page, is for our crow brake. Our throttle switch, it's in the reverse. That's, and I was going to show you that earlier. You can push enter on it, and it switches that to a reverse position. That's how I had to do it to get to work correctly. So that's going to be a throttle switch, which basically and it's an add switch. Okay, it's adding it, and it's AUX number 4. Now, if I didn't do add right there, my ailerons wouldn't work as long as this crow brake and the AUX 4 potentiometer up here was all the way up, or past, if you can see it moving, was all the way up. If I didn't do add here, it would take over this aileron, and that's not a good, you don't want that to happen. You still always want aileron control. So I had to do an add mux here. But in order to shut it off, I had to put it to this curve, this Pac-Man, you know, positive or greater than 0, okay? I had to have it like that. And then basically what I did is when I brought this, when you bring the throttle up, it basically brings that back down to, it basically shuts it off, okay? It shuts off this crow brake action here. And I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't see it. I don't think you can. But when this is engaged, yeah, you probably can see it, because look, it doesn't go up very far. But if you go up a little bit, you'll see that the bar actually drops a little, and when you give it more throttle,